Hello, and welcome to the Thyroid Warrior podcast. I'm Ebony, and I'm here as your wellness facilitator. I'm going to be sharing my experiences in managing Hashimoto's disease. I really hope that it'll help you on your personal journey. Keep in mind, however, this does not substitute for medical advice. It is only for your information and motivational purposes only. Now, let's get started. Hello, everyone. I am so pumped about this week's episode because it's about to lead into something really cool that I get excited about. So first things first, one of the things that I want to tell you guys about as my audience is I am going to be setting up a group to help you get through the holidays. We're going to talk about preparing from a food perspective, especially if you're trying to be good and stay away from the treats and all the cookies and cakes and holiday parties and all that fun stuff, and how to stay on track, especially so that you can keep that inflammatory response to a minimum. We're also going to talk about self-care. And I know that that's a very foreign concept for a lot of us, but I really think that it's incredibly important to get things started. The other thing that I want to talk to you guys about is going to be all about mindset and really getting yourself right so that you're walking right into the new year, happy, healthy, and taking the steps towards setting up 2019 to be what you want it to be. So I am going to do that just for my audience at a low price of $20. Yes, $20 to go basically starting November 1st, because everyone always falls off the wagon during Halloween and all the candy, into December 31st. So you're going to have access to a private Facebook group. I'm going to be in that group talking to you guys a lot about all of the things that I just mentioned: self-care, mindset, making sure that you're prepping for the holidays, helping you get through those things. And you'll have a safe space to, if you need to pop on and say, hey, I am either at my family's place or I'm at my holiday party and they're having all these things. I can't eat anything. I can't do anything. Help. I want to be able to create that community for you to feel safe enough to talk about those really challenging things, because the holidays are incredibly stressful and I don't want you to be alone. So if you want to get in on that, we're starting November 1st. You can go to ebonycolina.com/holidays. So that's going to make sure that you're on the list to get all the information. I'm going to have everything in there for you that you need to know. And we're going to do this together because I'm so passionate about making sure that you guys have what you need, that I want to make sure it's accessible for everyone. Just to give you guys a hint of some of the things that we're going to be doing during that time, I'm going to talk about it in today's podcast episode. So today is all about preparing for the holidays. So you might be saying to yourself, well, what's so difficult about that? Everything. So some of us have to travel to different states for the holidays. I know I'm a native of Detroit and I often have to go to Detroit to spend time with my family and to see my sisters and my brother and my nephew and my parents. So that's something that I have to both prepare for from a food perspective and as well from a mental perspective, because I have a blended family and I will talk all about that in a later episode. And I also don't ever see things in the airport that I can eat that are safe for me. Now, I don't have a severe allergy as some of you might have, or necessarily even a lot of dietary restrictions. But for me, the key killer for me is processed foods and gluten. I can't do it. So I have to either starve to death in an airport, or I have to bring snacks that don't have too much liquid in them. But if I don't want to choke while I'm trying to eat whatever food that I've brought with me. I have to then go to the airport and get water. So it can be a lot. So I've developed a checklist of sorts to kind of help me navigate through that space when it comes to traveling. So for example, before I travel, I try as hard as I possibly can to plan ahead. Now, that's not always possible, but I do try. So because, as I always say, brain fog is real, I try to pack snacks, all of my food, my medication, and whatever supplements I need while I'm going to be gone. Fortunately, I have a 90-day supply of my thyroid medicine, and I keep a bottle that's empty so I just put usually half of my 90-day supply in that extra bottle just in case something happens. I might get stuck at the airport. My flight might be canceled depending on the snow, the weather, etc. So I always keep an extra bottle so that I can put my thyroid meds in. And I have a supplement box so that I can add my vitamin B, my vitamin D, and my collagen MSM chondroitin supplement for my joints. So I try to make sure I keep all that together, and any supplements that I need in terms of exercising, I make sure I have those prepared as well, either in a single pack or I measure them out individually in Ziploc bags and I label them so that when I go to the airport, they can see what's in them, and I do a taste test if necessary. So that's from a supplement and medication perspective. Now, I keep an extra toothbrush and toothpaste and soap packed because I always forget them. And there's nothing worse than going somewhere and forgetting deodorant. Just saying. So I make sure I have that set out. I make sure I have my clothes set out, and I keep a journal because for me, it's really important to make sure I have a way to write down how I'm feeling so that I don't explode on my family. Now, that is really important because I love my family and I want to get along with them. So when it comes to journaling, I will either write out how I feel, kind of freestyle, but sometimes I need that inspiration. So what I do is I print out a page of journal prompts, and I also have my Write the Word journal from Laura Casey. So I try to keep myself together spiritually and emotionally because that's really important. Because a lot of times during the holidays, if you go to jail, you're going to be there for a while. So I definitely don't want to do that. So I really try to arm myself with the tools and strategies that I know work for me so that I can really just enjoy my time with my family. The other thing that I do around this time is I crochet a lot. One, because it's starting to get cold, and two, because confession time. So I have a very bad habit of ripping up paper when I'm either anxious or overwhelmed. And by crocheting, it gives me the opportunity to use my hands to do something, because that's really all that I need to do is I just need to occupy myself some way to get my mind off of whatever that thing is that I'm anxious about. So that has become a really good thing for me to do. And it also makes a lot of friends and family happy because I literally turn into a production company and everyone gets some type of blanket or scarf or wrap or something from me during that time. So it's a good way to get that kind of, not even aggression, but just to busy myself when I need to. So those are some of the things that I like to do around this time. Baking, cooking, naturally, I always do that. So again, it benefits me and it benefits the other people that I'm around. From a food perspective, I try to not only pack snacks that I can have from a travel perspective, but I also make sure that whatever meal that I'm having with family or friends, if we're going to a restaurant, I'll pull up the website to make sure that there are things that I can have. And if there's something that's questionable, I just call ahead to the restaurant and just ask them a question about it. They're usually very amicable about that type of thing. And if they're not, I don't go there and I politely excuse myself from that particular occasion. And I also just tell my family, which they're kind of conditioned to it now, but they now know what I can and can't have. So normally they try to be accommodating for that, but ever so often there are things that I have to tell them like, hey, I'm not trying to be rude, but how about we also make X, Y, and Z? Or I don't even say I'm not trying to be rude. I just suggest that thing that I can have. And especially if you're going to another person's home or something like that. This sounds really bad, but I always pack some type of granola bar that I can have, or I make them myself, some type of fruit, and I keep a small bottle of water just in case it's just a smorgasbord of stuff that's going to completely throw me off track. So I take care of myself in that way because I don't want to get sick or not feel well because I'm trying to please someone else. So as I always say, you can't be someone else's something if you're nothing for yourself. So I really do make a conscious effort to take care of myself first and foremost in these situations, because a lot of people don't understand the restrictions that you have. So I don't really put that pressure on them to try to figure it out. I just go with the flow, but I make sure that in my arsenal of stuff that I'm taking care of myself. Same thing is true when it comes to outfit choices. I make sure that I wear flats because my joints will start to bother me sometimes. I keep an extra sweater because I might be hot one second and freezing the next. So I just try to accommodate myself, because we all know there are people out there that'll be like, well, why do we have to do X, Y, and Z for you? I know you've had that happen to you because it happens to me all of the time and I'm over it. And this is why I do so much to prepare myself for the holidays. So you don't have to tell people about your condition or what you're going through. That's totally fine. But you want to make sure that you take that responsibility to keep yourself safe and to keep yourself happy, because at the end of the day, you're all you got and you have to protect yourself. I'm saying this out of love, but sometimes you have to be selfish. You really do. It's not to be mean. It's not to be negative. It's not to be nasty, but when you're bent over on the floor because you're in pain, or you're in the bed the next day because you did too much, because your friend suddenly wanted to have a night on the town and you felt bad about saying, okay, well, I'm not really feeling well. You pushed yourself and you went anyway. No, you don't have to do that. So give yourself grace and give yourself permission to take care of yourself. If you have to go out maybe a couple of hours with them, fine. Make sure you drive yourself. If you know you're going to be drinking, Uber, Lyft, totally fine. Take a taxi. Just make sure you do what you have to do to take care of yourself. And I'm going to repeat that over and over again. So I'm going to sound like a broken record this episode. Forgive me. But I really care about you guys. And I am where you are. I've been where you have been. And I know how isolating it is to have a thyroid condition or a quote unquote invisible illness that other people just don't understand. So I want you guys to make sure that you're safe and that you're okay. And the last thing that I want to talk to you guys about is just having that mindset shift. So sometimes it's really easy for us to just curl up in a ball and say, I don't want to today. Or I'm in a lot of pain, so I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to be social or do any of that. And I encourage you to step outside of yourself for a minute. And I want you to think about all of the things that you want to see for yourself. What would your life look like in a perfect world? What would your health be like? I know for some of us, we can manage our symptoms, but for example, if you have Hashimoto's disease or Graves' disease, those antibodies are always going to be there. But at the same time, how would you like to live your life? Even if you do have an autoimmune condition, like what does that look like to you? And I'll give you an example. For me, I wanted to be able to go hiking and ride my bike and be physically fit and active and to really just enjoy myself doing the things that I love to do. And outdoors is a big thing for me. So I try to do a lot of activity outside and I try to exercise a lot. And my goal is to be able to compete in track and field again in the master's division. I put it in my mind that I was going to be active again and I was going to be physically fit and do the things that I wanted to do. And you know what? It happened. I put one foot in front of the other. I started exercising more. I exercise at home with my fitness programs. That way I don't have to worry about being embarrassed about having to do a modification on an exercise or have people stare at me if I'm jumping all around and giggling and laughing and sweating uncontrollably. I do that in the comfort of my own home or in my gym in my apartment complex. And that takes a lot of stress out of it for me. And right now, I'm honestly in better shape than what I was when I was originally competing in track and field 10 years ago. So that is what I wanted to do for myself. I really encourage you guys to sit down and take out a piece of paper and just scribble on it. Be messy. Write down adjectives that you want to use to describe your future self. And future could even be tomorrow, the next month, the next week, the next year. It doesn't have to be a 5-year plan at all. I don't even have the attention span to think 5 years from now. Write those things down and you'll notice bit by bit, you can take actionable steps towards meeting those goals or those ideas that you put on paper. I looked at all of the things that I wanted to do a year ago and I've done pretty much all of them. And that's so exciting. And the year's not even done yet. So I just want to take this time right now, guys, to tell you that you are freaking amazing. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of all the work that you're doing. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I didn't want to get out of bed this morning. I did not. But the thought of being able to spend this time with you guys and to interact with you on social media and to just talk to you just brings me so much joy and makes me so happy that I get to be able to call you my friend. So before I start crying, because I've been very emotional lately, I'm going to close with that. So again, head on over to ebonycolina.com/holiday so that you can be in the know about my holiday program and support group coming up. And with that, friends, I hope that you are well, that you stay happy, and that you get excited because this is going to be good. You need this. So I will talk to you guys next week. Take care. Okay, thyroid warriors, get out there and take things one step at a time. Remember, be great, reflect on your triumphs, and as always, be well. Take care.